Hello everyone, and welcome back to the video by me, the WitcherGeorge. Today I'm going to be talking about a character that I think is actually one of the it's a character that leaves a really lasting impression on players, and especially it's left a lasting impression on me. It's one of these characters that whenever I come to make a video, I think, I'd like to make a video about this character, but what could I say that hasn't already been said? There's not much known about it, but I actually just had an idea today, and I thought this could be an interesting video, and I'd love to talk about this character, so today I'm going to be talking about what actually is the Caretaker. So obviously we know the Caretaker is a demon. I mean, it literally says it in the bestiary, he is a demon. But I think that you can just accept that at the face value of this thing is a demon, okay, yep, cool, move on. But I think there's actually a lot more to this character than just the fact that he is a demon. So the first question I've thought about was, what kind of demon is he? Is there just a single type of demon? I mean, to me, there appears to be significant sort of types of demons. There doesn't seem to be just, oh, this is a demon, this is this, this is this. There seems to be a kind of spectrum of it, right? Because we meet the cat and the dog, and obviously they are a different thing to the Caretaker. Whatever they are, they're a different thing. Maybe a demon is just a classification that holds all these monsters that don't fit into a particular category, but they come from this sort of other place, whatever that happens to be. There is obviously a relation to magic. I imagine they come from some kind of magic plane, something like that. There is described that there are the magic planes, and I imagine demons are pulled from there into the world of the Witcher, or from a different sphere of some kind, and that is what a demon is, and it's something that is sort of forced into some kind of body. Because if you look at the Caretaker's body, he's got all these patches of skin. He looks clearly like it is something that has been created by, I'd imagine, Olgierd, potentially from the dead, or I don't know where he's got these bodies from, but I'd imagine it's not got the best of stories. And then he has crammed this, essentially, monster or demon into it, using magic. And I imagine it's a similar thing to the cat and the dog. But back to my point, it's obvious that these things are different. The cat and the dog talk to you, they seem to have personalities, they seem to have certain things that guide them, they have goals in what they want to achieve, they don't want to be in servitude. Whereas the Caretaker doesn't seem to really have any of that. He just goes about his job, does exactly what Olgierd told him to do, even after Olgierd is long gone, and that's all he does. He seems to be, at least in my opinion, a lower class of demon to the cat and the dog, and I think that's a pretty safe thing to say. Although you could make the argument that he is actually just as intelligent of the cat and the dog, but the magic that binds him is stronger. Because the purpose of the cat and the dog was to be a friend to Iris. That was why they were brought into the house. That's why Olgierd wanted to make them. But the Caretaker, he wanted to make for completely different reasons. He wanted someone to, well, as the name would suggest, take care of the house, tend to the flowers, fix the fence, kill anybody that comes onto the grounds, you know, the kind of normal stuff. And that was why he was made. So he had very set, do this, do this, do this, but just being a friend to Iris is a bit more open, and perhaps after she passed away, there wasn't so much they could actually do, and that's why they're able to sort of break free of the magic to a degree. Because a demon is something that is bound to do something, right? It's taken, it's put into a body, and magic is used, and they're forced into servitude. And that's what they're doing, that's what these characters essentially are doing in The Witcher 3. But regardless of that, I think let's just assume for now that he is a lower form of demon, although perhaps more powerful. I mean, we haven't seen the cat and the dog's full power, but they don't seem particularly aggressive as demons. But he seems less powerful, at least, than whatever the cat and the dog are. But he has more physical power, like less intelligence, but more physical power, but you could say a lower class of demon. I like to think of it a little bit perhaps like the higher vampire thing, where you have higher vampires and obviously they're very powerful, they just don't show it so much, and then the lower vampires seem more powerful at first glance, but actually they're nothing compared to what could be unleashed with the other higher class of monster. And the reason I bring up this idea of a lower form of demon and a higher form of demon is because I don't want to keep going back to this character, but I think it is very important, especially when talking about this character and the general story, and it's about Gaunter Odi'mm, because Gaunter Odi'mm, yeah, he's evil incarnate, he might be God, he might be some other type of monster, whatever it is, probably not monster, probably something greater. I know that is the sort of implication with him, but the fact that this is one of the only stories in The Witcher where we really see demons. I mean, proper demons. Like Heims, you could say, is a demon, but it's like a classified thing, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, the cat and the dog, the Caretaker, are special monsters and definitely demons, and they are forced into another thing's body. You know, it's a different kind of thing, although Heims yet again. But these are like classic demons, you could say. And the fact that one of the only stories with these things in is a story that has Gaunter Odi'mm, and then his realm feels very demon-esque. I like to sort of wonder, is Gaunter possibly not just a very powerful demon, but it might even be easy just to say the most powerful demon. Maybe demon isn't the right word, but it feels like it could be something that actually relates to him. I don't want to say that for sure, because yet again, he's one of these characters that you're not really meant to know what he is, and I feel like classifying him is something that I certainly can't do, but the closest thing I could say within the world of The Witcher that we're aware of is either you classify him as Gaunter Odi'mm and all the stuff that goes with that, or you can classify him as potentially just the most powerful demon in existence. Which, yeah, I'm not comfortable classing him as that because I really do believe he is something else, but it's something to consider. What's also quite interesting about the Caretaker is he's able to use magic, and yeah, demons can use magic. This isn't something that's necessarily a crazy thing to imagine, and I've talked about this before, and I really would like to do an even more in-depth video about this, but magic is such a confusing thing in The Witcher because I do not actually believe at this point that it is one single thing. I think it is kind of a broad term for something that exists in different forms because it all seems to be slightly different in the way it's used. Maybe it could all relate to the same thing, but it does seem slightly different. But the Caretaker, well, explicitly it says in his bestiary entry that he is able to summon powerful spirits from the graves that it had dug and could heal himself by absorbing them. So I don't think this necessarily means that he can just summon as many spirits as he wants, but when he kills people, he is able to sort of take possession of their spirits, a bit like a wraith or something can be brought back by some kind of curse that holds it. Well, a person, I suppose, is brought back into being a wraith. And that's something that's quite interesting, because that seems like quite a significant power to hold. He can kill people, control their souls, and summon them at will. I mean, it's quite an interesting power to have. I mean, we haven't seen a monster have something like that before. And I feel that that might indicate more on his sort of level of abilities and power, and how he is being bound by Olgierd's magic, which is interesting because I think we don't give Olgierd enough credit for how strong of a mage he must be to do something like that. But also just, I wonder what the Caretaker's initial demon actually was. I mean, you think of it as this creepy thing, but maybe he wasn't actually that bad of a demon, or it could just be a mindless monster, we don't know, I suppose. But it's interesting to think about what the magic's effect on the Caretaker could have actually been. And I think it draws even more assumptions in the idea that he's able to summon these spirits using his particular type of magic. When he dies, he sort of disperses from the body, and Geralt has this famous quote. And I feel that that's something that is a particularly interesting part of this character, because something that I personally wondered about it, and I don't have a lot to base this on, but I was curious if perhaps demons, or at least the Caretaker, could be some sort of wraith. It might not be something exactly the same type of demon or something like that, but it could be some type of undead soul that, you know, Olgierd has pulled through somehow. It's an interesting thing to think about, and the main reason I go for that is because the effect is very, very similar with the spirits and the Caretaker, and it does just seem to fit within fantasy to pull in, it could be a demon, I suppose, or it could be like a soul or something like that, and force them into servitude. It seems far more creepy that way if you think about that being an actual person forced to do that. And it could just be a demon, but I think, yet again, these are just things that I think is really interesting to consider when you're actually playing the game and trying to experience this story, because, as I'm trying to say, and the whole point of this video is, the Caretaker is sort of as, oh, demon, yep, cool, but I think there is so much more you can actually think about with this character than just that. And one of the best parts about it is not really knowing, but I think just thinking about, oh, that could be a person in there. Oh, that could be a lower class of demon, that could be from a crazy different world, it has all these powers. How strong is Olgierd? How was he able to do that? I think these are the things that keep The Witcher so interesting even after it's been released. And it's something that I think is particularly interesting about this character. It's not just the sort of appearance of this character, the way I want to say he or it looks. It's also these kind of questions, I think, that we subconsciously think when we're playing the game. And that is something that I think is so important when it comes to The Witcher, and just fantasy in general. And just to relate to my other point, I think it's interesting that in the bestiary it does explicitly say that it was summoned to the Von Everec estate from another realm, making demon its most accurate designation. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a demon. As I said, it could be from another realm. Another realm is very vague. Could be a person that passed away a long time ago and was forced back into the world with magic. I mean, it's not something that's crazy to see. I mean, we've seen it happen quite a lot, I think, in The Witcher. Look at Skull, that was an interesting one. I suppose his soul was not necessarily at rest, but Yennefer used necromancy, brought him back. It could be something akin to that. And yeah, just completely forced into servitude. I mean, it must have been a terrible life. Imagine if there was any kind of recollection of actually what is happening if that was a person. So to conclude, I think it's just very interesting to consider that this thing, the Caretaker, is not necessarily a demon, as it even says in the bestiary. You can look at it and think, oh, it's a demon, it's creepy, whatever. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, it could be a soul that passed away, something like Skull, possibly. It could be a demon, as we said, but it might not necessarily just be a demon, it could be a lower class of demon, and that's something that I think is really interesting to consider, because then it gives this whole new perspective of, I wonder what the demons are like, and I wonder how that could be explored in future Witcher games. But yeah, I think that's enough for today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been quite an interesting one to make. I think this has been an interesting little topic to talk about. If you have any suggestions, stuff you want to see in the future, please let me know. Go and follow my ex, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, like today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have an awesome rest of the week.